Okay, guys, good morning. So, are you ready for some tension? Here we go. The right angle cross of tension. So, this is really something very, very powerful that we have. I'm going to talk about the 1-3 profile. It starts with insignificance, an instinctive recognition of what is practical and deserves attention, a taste for recognizing what is practical and deserves attention. The other side is a taste for trivia. So, the very foundation at the very bottom of the well is that the most interesting stuff to drink is the basis of depth. The basis of depth is what you should pay attention to. And it's one of the things to understand in this context of duality is that the 48 gate is a great gate of inadequacy. This is the enormous fear of inadequacy. I have both my Neptunes in the 48 gate. I've always felt so inadequate when it comes to being about to be certain about my depth. It's not possible. And because I have so many first lines, it's frightening. There's no this uncertainty about it. When you get to this well, you get deep down into this well. This very beginning of this process, the only way you can deal with inadequacy, that you have to get to a point where you know where to focus your attention. It's one of the problems of the 18. And the 18 goes into a state of environment and sees all the things that are wrong, but doesn't know where to start. This is the advantage of the 48. The 48 collects all of that, the drops of water in the well, and then out of that can look and see where the focus ought to be. As a matter of fact, many of the things that the 18 sees as a whole, the 48 can see one solution that'll cover all of that. That's the difference between the 18 and the 48. The 48 will feel inadequate unless it can see that place where the focus can take place. This line of insignificance is very much misunderstood. Most of the things that are part of the knowledge base here at the insignificant level are not the kinds of things that people pay attention to. They pay attention to the surface. And if you look at the surface, what they're looking at is self fulfillment. That's the top of the well. That's something you can grow into. That's something you can get from your depth. They don't see that the very foundation of knowledge is that you need to have all the details in order to be able to find a focus and that you're already born with it. That is, you come into the world and you can already discern what requires attention, and it begins with trivia. I often look at my intellectual process and I'm really amused. I have my memory banks an unbelievable amount of trivia. I can still sing commercials from the 50s. I have trivia inside of me that is unbelievable. And yet I'm a well person. I see and I actually tap into that a lot because it helps. It helps to bring clarity to something else that you can get to the focus. Somebody says I have the 48-1, and my first pitch to the 48-1 was, well, enjoy all that small stuff. Have fun with it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think that it's insignificant. It's what appears to be to the not self. The one thing that you have to understand about that recognition process is that you need to have a broadest place as you can. It's the broader the plate, the more potential in the sentences to really be able to see. The 1-3 is very good at this, by the way. They discover very clearly that if you try to do all the things that the 18 points you, that you will feel inadequate, immediately inadequate. And threes in the 48 gate anyway have an ordeal in dealing with inadequacy because they go through the trial and error process. And of course, if they're not raised properly, if they do not understand the way that works, that can be very devastating because what it ultimately means is that you assume that you're inadequate in your depth. In order to be able to serve the greater good for the common good, we need to take into consideration that the common good covers a huge spectrum. One of the difficulties of the collective is that there's not enough trivia. There's not enough of all of that spectrum. They tend to focus in certain patterns which tend to lead others off. And though they think they're working for the common good, for many it's a problem. So then when we go to the 1-4, when you're dealing with the 1-4, maybe you get the joke. Here's the gate, and you have the fear of inadequacy. And yet, everyone, at least the first five lines, is born inadequate. It's such a joke. You're born fully equipped, you're not missing anything, you have exactly the right kind of depth. It's perfect. All you have to do is operate correctly, which is again a logical theme. That's why we can in fact, influence people by offering logical mechanics because basically logic is what it takes to the future. The patterns are something we see that can work out to our benefit. But understand that people who have the well with the first five lines are born adequate. And that's what I tell them. Don't worry about this fear that you have. That's not the point. It's not. It's not about operating correctly. And you will see that your depth will operate the way what it should. It's a lesson I had to learn myself with my Neptunes. The 1-4 is again deeply influenced by the way in which it's raised, whether or not it's going to see depth as something that has to be practical or whether it's going to see depth as something that's really not important. Remember that we are impressed with people that have a lot of information, but having a lot of information doesn't mean that you have solutions. And what you really see in the first line in the 1-3 and the 1-4 is that there really isn't much of a solution at the level of depth. There isn't. It's simply I'm going to live with the other and I'm going to feel adequate. I really have to find the theme of which bothers me and which makes me feel inadequate. And remember, cross of tension. If you're cross of tension and you're 1-3 or 1-4 here, you're provoking other people. And what is the 48? The prime provocation here is the 48 to the 16. In other words, where the hell are the skills that can take my depth? And out of that, we have an expression of talent. Trivia is just a platform for skills. That's all. And it's a very good platform with that.